Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Friday, March 7th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Texas game in 176 days, the game against Michigan in 267 days. If you're planning your next event, make it unforgettable with Grateful Griddle, Columbus's favorite food truck, serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and good vibes. Book your catering today at gratefulgriddleoh.com. We're talking basketball on today's show. Jake Diebler and the Ohio State basketball team, they are coming down to it in March. Final regular season game coming up this Saturday at Indiana. And the Buckeyes and Hoosiers both right on that NCAA tournament bubble. It is going to be a big, big game. Tony Gerdeman of BuckeyeHuddle.com joins me. Tony, I saw you had a post on the board with an updated bracketology, and Ohio State and Indiana are both in the tournament, but just barely hanging on. And this is going to be a big, big game for both teams.
Yeah, they're both just standing next to each other, like shoulder to shoulder on the precipice. And, one's looking at the other like, I'm going to push you off. I'm going to push you off. And right now, Joe Lunardi at Ohio State is one of the last four in with no buys and then or with the bye. And then Indiana, one of the last four in overall. And so just get a win and don't worry about it. And then you don't have to worry about the what ifs. But this is a remarkably big game for two teams looking to be 500 in the Big Ten and looking to finish their regular season with 13 losses. And yet, whoever does, congratulations.
Yeah, this feels a lot like a win and you're in kind of game, because if you win, then you finish the regular season at 500 in the Big Ten. Both of these teams 9-10 in the Big Ten play right now. Buckeyes at 17-13 overall. And if it just feels like I went into the last three games of the regular season thinking Ohio State needed to win 3 games between the last 3 games of the regular season and the Big Ten tournament. And you could sort of divide those up however you want to. That was at USC, home for Nebraska, at Indiana, and then whatever happens in the Big Ten tournament. And looking at it, it was kind of like if you win 2 regular season games and 1 of the Big Ten tournament, or you win your last 3 regular season games, you're probably comfortably in. Now, that doesn't mean it's a 6 seed or something, but you're probably in and probably not playing in Dayton in a couple of weeks. If they've kind of handled their business, it has not. As with so much with this Ohio State basketball season, it hasn't been pretty and it hasn't been easy, but they got to win at USC. They got to win against Nebraska in double overtime. It was, you can say a lot about that game. I will say that it was lengthy. It was long. That's probably the kindest thing I can say about that game overall, but they got to win. Now it feels like if you beat Indiana, you're in. If you lose to Indiana, then you're going to be the winner of this game is going to be the 9 seed in the Big Ten tournament. The loser is going to be the 10 seed in the Big Ten tournament. So you win, you're in, and you're playing the 8 seed. You lose, you're playing the 10. You're the 10 seed, and you're going to play the last team in. So that's sort of part of a mishmash of 7 and 13 kind of Big Ten teams right now. But are you kind of on the same page with me there that if you win one of the next 2, you're probably in pretty safely?
If I'm Ohio State, I'd rather have the Indiana game because then your conference record says 10-10 rather than 9-11. And with the way the selection committee has viewed the Big Ten tournament over the years, I would not be shocked if they don't always care about it. Now, generally, it's like they don't care about what happens on Sunday. What happens during the week? If you can move your way in, it's just you can only do so much. But certainly a good run or even a win in the tournament is going to probably, as you said, put them where they are. But if you ask me, and you didn't ask me, but I'm saying, Tom, if you asked me, which would I rather have if I'm Ohio State, a win over Indiana or a win in the first round? Give me that win at Indiana, because it puts them at 500 in the Big Ten. And for some people, that's just going to be like, okay, because, when they've been under 500, it's been a scary situation in terms of making the tournament. Now, I know it's, every year is a little bit different than the last, and it also depends on what other people are doing and what other teams, what other standings there are. But I'd rather, if I'm Ohio State, be 500. And then who cares? Not who cares, but who cares what happens in the Big Ten tournament at that point?
And Ohio State, if they lose to Indiana, would be 17-14 and 9-11 in conference play. And you look at those numbers and you go, how could they possibly make the tournament at 17-14? Or, if you lose again, you could potentially make it at 17-15. They do have 6 quad one wins. Indiana would be a 7th quad one win. But they do have, in terms of the net rankings, they have wins over at number 12 Maryland, number 13 Kentucky, number 15 Purdue. So those are 3 really good wins, and they played a difficult schedule non-conference. They got the doors blown off by a couple of those difficult teams, but they played a difficult schedule non-conference. So that kind of helps get you to that record with potentially 13 or 14 or so losses. But Tony, I look at that. I look at a 17-13 team that's currently projected to be in the NCAA tournament. And then I look at the conversation around, hey, maybe we need to expand the NCAA tournament. And I think just 2 words, Tony. Do we?
Well, because then, you expand it, and what are we talking about? Like doubling it, or, making it 96 or whatever. Like at that point, then, who out of the Big Ten doesn't make it? When you've got like even Washington at 13 and 17, like they wouldn't be far out of the mix. So yeah, I don't think it needs to be expanded any more than it already is. Although, Tom, I did see Kentucky head coach Mark Pope about a week or so ago say that the regular season needs to be expanded to 40 games so that you can, all of these teams are brand new every year. So it's like you really need that time to gel and figure out who you are. You need like the first 20 games just to figure out who you are, and then the second 20 games to really excel and get people and be the team that can go into the tournament for then what could be, 7-8 games if we're expanding to 128. So, 50 game season. Is that what we're talking about here pretty soon? Because I almost forgot to mention the conference tournaments as well. So, no, nothing needs to be expanded because the tournament is just fine where it is. And if one year the national champion, we were like, we didn't get an opportunity to see a 19-14 team win a national championship, then, I guess we're okay. We'll live.
For years, I've said the biggest problem with the college basketball on the whole is there are not enough meaningless regular season games. And also, they're too well officiated. Those are the 2 biggest problems with college basketball. And, listen, maybe you can fix both of those. But, right now, there are more pressing issues. And for Ohio State, that is winning at Assembly Hall on Saturday, 3:45 tip-off. Going to be the last game for Mike Woodson, who has announced that this is his last season in at Indiana. So you've got the NCAA tournament aspect of that. You've got some, senior day. You've got the last game for the head coach. There's going to be a lot of storylines there, all on Saturday at Assembly Hall on CBS, Saturday, 3:45. We will have coverage of that game all this weekend at BuckeyeHuddle.com. There's a bunch of other stuff going on as well. Getting a chance on Friday to talk to Ohio State assistant coaches. We'll have lots of football coverage for you Friday and then all throughout the weekend and into next week, all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. And then spring ball starts on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Going to be a scarlet and gray beer day on St. Patrick's Day as the Buckeyes start their spring ball a week from Monday. Going to be a lot to talk about. Going to be a really interesting spring. Tony and I just did a couple shows on the Buckeye Weekly podcast feed on the Buckeyes with the most to lose or the most to gain this spring. 10 guys on offense, 10 guys on defense, and we could have kept going with that list because there are a lot of interesting storylines. We'll be talking about all of those at BuckeyeHuddle.com and, of course, at YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.